Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I'm joined today by Manny Yosipov, CEO at Advanced Recovery Group. Thanks for joining me, Manny.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, Jesse Johnson. You're blessed with a very easy, fluid last name. Seems to ring a bell. I've heard it before in a few occasions. So
Yeah, and what's interesting is I think I said before I hit record, like I think we're episode 280 plus now, and I would even probably mess up my name if I introduced myself. Wow, it's just one of those things, Manny. Then you like I'm just as you know you've gotten to know me over the last couple of years. I'm not a scripted person, so anytime I
yeah,
have to read off a script, I'm like, wait, what is this? Like, no.
yeah, it's
But
that thing where
anyhow,
when you know someone's watching, suddenly you can't type.
yeah, 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 exactly. But it's a pleasure to finally have you on the program, and looking forward to learning more about you and your career so far. So I'm just gonna kick right off, Manny, and just kind of have you introduce yourself and your career to date.
Yeah, well, Jesse, thanks for having me. I'm a big fan of what you're building at Equipment Finance Cares. And yeah, it's been nice seeing you more and getting to know you more and all the people that you associate with. You definitely have a good reputation in the industry, and it's
Thank you, sir.
you're a unique character that people just are always mention in a very good light. So I like that. I personally am a little bit on I consider myself on the fringes in terms of how I operate. I like to, go to the beat of my own drum, but that kind of spills into my career, right? I'd studied finance and gotten into finance, and I was working at a corporate bank for a while, JP Morgan to start, and then I was going to go into, I was going to kind of go through that route with Capital One once I left, but then something derailed me. I ended up trying to get into sales. I had a big pep talk from one of my cousins about, upside and don't be stuck in the corporate world and, go try your luck with something that has the infinite commission like sales. And I kind of brought me into healthcare. But then there was a lot going on in the revenue-based financing and in the finance world around, after 2008 when access to capital was obviously probably the most front and center issue for a lot of small businesses. And I was considering getting into the cash advance space or something that was an easy, no barrier to entry kind of business. But I noticed it was saturated. I had a few friends I was talking to, and we ended up seeing a huge opportunity in the downstream servicing in collections, right? A lot of people were telling me that there's not a lot of good collections companies out there. They're settling for very mediocre service, delayed responses, kind of like, hey, this is the best we got attitude. So we're just using it. And like any entrepreneur, which I'm sure you know, and plenty of other people watching will agree that when you see something that doesn't have too much competition or an industry that isn't too saturated, you can get away with a longer runtime with a minimum viable product, and you can iterate. It's easier to get feedback. It's easier to kind of put yourself and build your product to a point where it's doing well because you're not that easily replaceable. And I kind of just it snowballed from there into something that I didn't expect to be this successful in terms of how much we grew and the scale. Um, Granted, I wasn't thinking that I was going to fail per se, but I just kind of shot my shot. I had a few friends in the space that were willing to be my first clients, and yeah, I had some capital because I was in a nurse staffing business and I sold my equity there. And I wanted to kind of get into something that wouldn't take too much capital to invest in. And this kind of
Oh,
snowballed. You sounded
I
like,
was gonna say nurse staffing, man. Oof. Brooke owns a medical company, and getting getting good
oh, it was tough. It was tough.
CNAs and all those things. Those are tough. Like as far as like trying to keep those people like coming back and everything. That's probably harder than collections, man.
It
Come
was it
on.
was up there. Yeah, it was up there with the difficulty in terms of kind of bridging the gap between two parties, right? You need to get good quality nurses, people that you can rely on, workers that were really okay with not, you had to try and pay as little as possible and get the most as possible and get good contract rates, and pair them with good facilities. And then you got to negotiate with these different facilities and these different contracts and criteria.
and it's like they just beat up every day by like just bad patients and everything. So
Exactly.
that's
And then
a
you can't, there's so many
yeah.
you can't control. I ended up getting out of healthcare because um I don't know, it was getting squeezed. A lot of it relies on government aid and Medicaid and Medicare and a lot of different programs that keep a lot of these facilities up and running. So, you know, I was at one point I was in the home care, home health aides and home care industry, trying to get a lot of these relationships between the facilities and the home care providing institutions. So I had my fair share of healthcare, and then I kind of just was looking for something a little different. And I still have a soft spot for healthcare because I think that it's a very
Sure.
it's an industry that needs a huge revolution because we're kind of like in this weird middle ground between government involvement and a free market. And it produces this really bad oligopoly system where a few healthcare institutions control the market. It's insane the cost of health insurance that a lot of us are paying. So that could be
Well,
a
especially yeah, well, especially the fact that you're not in it right now, so you're not dealing with some of these insurance companies who don't want to pay or pay on time, and then it's like the Medicare and all this other stuff that I see it on a regular basis just because of what Brooke goes through. But it's like it's a necessity. But I agree. I mean, there needs to be an overhaul. There needs to be some of these reforms and everything. But I don't know.
it's yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It goes back to this like crazy, original economics argument of like how much should the government be involved and where do you draw the line? Because government, if you have a pure, really healthy government system, it can be amazing because humans just can't always be trusted. When you have unfettered and unrestricted capitalism, people were working 16-hour shifts and losing fingers in factories because they didn't have any controls to care for them, and people were just abused for the maximum profits. So,
sure.
right, in an ideal world, there has to be some balance, but you can very easily drift into a very unhealthy balance where the government gets involved and you have presidents that are either absolutely, callous and ignorant or falling asleep in the middle of a speech and don't even know what the hell they just ate for breakfast. So and systems that can't, put it all together or in a healthy fashion. Or people trying to enrich themselves, right? Like there's just always a problem, and we got to have something better than this. But I digress. I mean, essentially, we got into
Yeah,
collections.
yeah.
Like I said, I wanted to
Perfect.
get
Perfect.
into
Well, perfect.
I wanted to get into something that had a lot of scalability too. In collections, I wasn't pigeonholed into one particular market. It is a service that can
Sure.
extend into any commercial engagement. And I saw that as a really great opportunity. And now that's kind of what we're doing. I initially started working with these working capital funders, small businesses that were, giving decent working capital to small businesses around the country. And I started to kind of steer away from more of the unscrupulous funders because, as you know, Cash Advance has some very dogged players that are not doing well, that need to get regulated out of the industry. I'm 100% all for that because I think there is a healthy way to
Before
provide all.
before the well before they completely ruin it, and then it's overregulated, because that's the problem, right? It's like
Exactly.
don't mess this up. We have an okay thing going here. Don't mess this up for the rest of us because you're getting a little greedy there. Like, come on.
Exactly, right. The banking system is leaving a nice big hole for small financing institutions to come in, make a nice healthy business, provide capital without all the red tape and in an efficient way to help dreams come true, to help these small businesses continue transacting and flowing in this economy. Don't fuck it up for the rest of us. We're here to do something great. And I'm in agreement. It happens. So I'm trying to. It happens to be that's why we're also moving into the equipment finance space and into general commercial loans and commercial goods and services and business invoice products, things like that. So we are kind of expanding. Hence why I've been attending these conferences more from an educational standpoint. I do think that equipment finance debt is easier to collect on in my experience. It's been easier. We have a few equipment finance clients, and or just, you know, higher credit score, these business owners care a little bit more about their businesses and things of that nature from the experience and working capital. But what got, you know, ultimately, I really just wanted to build something for, you know, to look back with pride on having built something. Now, I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I think from a first principle standpoint, ultimately, I got into collections and I wanted to just build something solid that I could at least say, hey, you know, this is something that I have my name. I spilled my blood and tears to make this grow. I'm employing families. And, you know, Phil Knight, the founder of Nike, has a really, really great line in his book, Shoe Dog, about business. And he kind of says, I'm going to paraphrase and probably butcher it, but he says, you
You're
know,
fine.
uh, he says it feels wrong to kind of call what we're doing business. It feels wrong to summarize and congest everything that we're doing, all the sleepless nights and all the hard work and the good laughs and the trials and tribulations and the ups and downs. It feels wrong to kind of just put that all into one word because ultimately, if you can make life incrementally faster or incrementally better, or if you can provide a good or provide a service that even in a very small fraction of a way makes something better in life in ways that it really should be, but it so seldom is, you know, you're contributing to that greater human drama and making life ever so incrementally a little bit better for people around you. And if that's business, then so be it. Call me a businessman. And I found that very moving because I think that you don't have to be working in some sexy tech industry where you're creating, you know, some cool AI robot or launching rockets into space. Granted, that is a beautiful thing, but you don't have to be doing any of these amazing things to be contributing to the human drama, to the human existence and capitalism in some capacity to have something worth living for, to have something exciting to talk about. Granted, like I mentioned, nobody applauds infrastructure until it fails, and there's plenty of unsexy jobs out there that we would fall apart as a civilization if we didn't have. But
Yep.
you know, as long as you're doing something, making someone's life a little bit better, getting financiers their money back a little bit faster, a little bit more efficiently, so that they can take that credit and then put it back out there in the market and maybe make another small business's dream come true. You know, I'm happy to be called a collections company in that capacity because I'm indirectly part of that stimulation of the small business economy, which is so vital to the US GDP.
Sure. So I was going to ask you some questions on the actual organization, but let's take what you just said and kind of run with it a little bit. So, organizations, do they come to you when they have a problem and it's like the house is on fire, or ideally you'd probably want to be engaged with someone when things are calm, so you can set a process in place as opposed to just firefighting all the time. So, where are you finding this happy medium, or is there not one?
I guess I get both. I think it's a function of the organization, their ability to be prepared and organized and to have departments that are properly preventing issues instead of correcting them. The
Okay.
smaller companies that I come across are obviously kind of, you know, tripping over themselves as they come to me through the door asking about, hey, I got this default, you know, it's 500 grand, big, you know, originally the business had hundreds, you know, millions in revenue every month. Suddenly they're kaput. I need help. This guy's, you know, it's killing my portfolio. And then you got these other institutions that are saying, yeah, you know, we have a healthy cycle of three first placement institutions, and we're looking at getting you in as a secondary or even first placements if you can give us some good numbers and we can talk through the process and maybe have a formal RFI, things like that. So it varies, right? I'm working with some bigger institutions. I'm working with some smaller institutions. Happens to be the smaller guys usually. They're just not thinking about that, right? They have limited resources. They're a smaller company. They're busy investing every resource they can in their unique ability, which is funding, underwriting, getting the good deals. And then every now and then, like anything else, you only kind of get to it when you realize it's a necessity, when you're sort of still in the building phase.
Sure.
Um, that's been
Sure. I mean, at that point there, it's like, let us show you what we can do, and
Mhm.
then benchmark us against what you currently have, and then make a business decision. Right?
You know,
That's all you want.
one
Oh
of
my
my best
goodness.
one of my best sales pitches that I've always used, and I've almost never gone wrong with this one, is like you say with the benchmark, some A/B testing. I always tell people, hey, listen, what do you lose by giving me a shot? I'm the new guy on the block, new company, see what we can do. Imagine where the world would be if we said, no, no, we don't need to try Facebook. We have MySpace, So it'd be a very different world if we just turned down the next new thing.
However, now what Facebook has turned into,
Ah,
I kind of long for MySpace a little bit, man, where it's like,
granted, I
I
will
go in,
say
I can code my own things. Imagine if we had the top friends wall right now, how pissed off what people would be, where it's like, why am I not in your top friends?
I would argue that MySpace was causing a little bit more drama.
It was fantastic though, but I could go in there, you could code your own stuff, you could add your music, and you could do everything. Now
Music.
Facebook, you log in and it's just all this ad BS, and you're just like,
Yeah, yeah, they got to perfect that a little bit more. But it did, revolutionize the world, brought about the influencer economy,
yeah,
created way more celebrities than we ever thought our brains had room to process and adore and provide emotion for. And it's definitely something that's interesting. But yeah, that was always my pitch. Is like, this could be that next revolutionary thing. Don't disregard it just because it's new. And we're a little bit more stable at this point. Because sorry, I was just looking because my dog was like looking at the door. We got to make sure he doesn't have to go out. But anyway, we're a little bit more stable. Started in 2018. So we're here to stay. We're going on 40 employees, hopefully getting to
and
50 before the end of the year. And
you're located in New York,
New
or
York and
where's your brick and mortar?
our main office is in Fairfield, New Jersey.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, just 30 minutes out
And
of this.
is that where you're at?
Yeah, I'm here right now.
Are you
We're
in?
in the
Okay. Okay.
Yep, yep. We got this is our little conference room. I had to pick something with the ARG logo, right there.
No, it's perfect. You frame that eerily well for the first time. So well
Yeah.
done.
It seems in my camera, it looks like it's backwards, but whatever. I'm sure that'll
No,
I'm sure.
no, it's the same with mine. My cares thing. It's just the way that Zoom does things. So
I
you're
see, I
you're
see.
good.
Okay.
It does not. It's not backwards. It's just the way that some of this technology works.
Got it, got
Something else to think about where it's like, did I do this right? Yeah, he did it right. So you're good. All right. So 40 employees, serving multiple industries. Manny, have you always had I guess, a sense for like an entrepreneur spirit? Because you mentioned equity in this nurse staffing business. Like, were you ever just kind of a worker bee, and then you didn't want to be a worker bee anymore, or did you just say, "Hey, I wanted to start my own companies and
I
do
I
something
I
on
think
my own"?
yeah. I think I didn't want to be the worker bee because I hated the rigidity. I would be a worker bee for my own company if I could, because I know how to just incentivize people and let them live and let them just get the job done within certain ramifications once the trust is earned. I believe that if you have a good enough culture, and my work culture comes from a first principles analysis, right? I take organizations as, a compilation of human brains, and human brains are just human brains on a micro and macro level. And if you understand the human brain, you can incentivize it and then keep that brain going for the greater organization. Every organization is a combination of bodies, just like a singular body is a combination of different cells and organelles functioning for the greater good of the organism. So I wanted to be an entrepreneur because I just felt like I ran into a lot of dumb and very bad bosses who weren't leaders. And I thought, God, if I would be so much more passionate about working for you, if you could just give me a better story than your higher ups told you this, and it's company policy, and the company policy is mindlessly revolving around, a relinquishing of liability because one idiot filed a lawsuit for the most mindless reason possible. And you guys just can't differentiate the difference between, okay, that's a one-time error. We don't need to ruin everything else for the sake of that one regulatory issue or one liability. I mean, the list goes on and on, but happens to be that I wanted to be an entrepreneur because I wanted the freedom. I wanted to be able to make good money, but I was able to be disciplined and to delay gratification. And I just think people don't have that discipline. People don't generally like to delay gratification for 10 years. If they like to delay gratification for a year, maybe a few months. I have employees coming in here and all of a sudden they're telling me like they're due for a raise or a promotion because they did like one or two great things and they've been here less than a year. And I go, what the hell are you talking about? You got to like invest a little bit, build some trust. Maybe if you're incredible and you absolutely blew, expectations out of the water, sure.
Yeah.
But just the muscle for delaying gratification is atrophying so much, and I'm seeing it on a regular basis. Right, smartphones have contributed to that because now you just have entertainment and
I,
pleasure.
I was going to say, I sit there and it's like, I want something today and I don't want to leave my house to get it. I go on to some app and it satisfies what I need. So it's just like that dopamine instant need. But I mean, I think that person who comes to your office and asks for a raise, you're like, I love that fire. Let's go. But like this person's been here, worked just as hard as you for 3 years. What are you doing that they're not doing in one, less than one? Like,
Yeah.
come on. It's
Yeah, the
fair.
reality it's
Yeah.
it's it's just but then again, right, I understand and I'll approach that person and say, great, I love that you want this right now. Think about what you're asking for and think about what you contribute to the company right now in terms of revenue and losses. Ultimately, I say, hey, we're here for money. I love working here. I want you to love working here. How do I get people who are not making the same money as I am or are not as invested in the company as I am to be as excited as I am? Because I ultimately function from a first principles perspective about discipline and life in general. Every piece of advice I will give my employees will help them outside of this office as well. It's not just for the benefit of the company. So when I tell you, hey, don't let your brain rot by staring at your phone in the middle of work because you're just training yourself to be that much weaker next time you're talking to your spouse or you're trying to engage your kid or you're trying to be a good friend and listen to somebody talk about a conversation that's not so interesting, but you're training your brain to just run away from difficult things. Put the phone down, Granted, I'm not saying don't use your phone. Set a 30-minute or 45-minute timer, but you're just frying your brain here and going home and taking that
Yeah.
same brain with you. It doesn't just change. If you're here, if you're working at any job, just do it well. Give it your absolute all, and you'll be better for it. You'll be a better lover, you'll be a better friend, you'll be a better person, you'll be a better father, whatever you want to be. This one brain is your key to that. And it's being trained right here every second of your life. Your mindfulness, all these different qualities, they all spill over into each other. So that's one part about how I try to incentivize people is that the advice I'm giving you applies to everything in life. And if you just don't want to be here, and if you just can't bring yourself to really be passionate about the company, then by all means go. You don't see the vision. I pay top of the market dollar for my employees, and give them. I spoil my team. We have a lot of benefits. We buy lunches like twice a week for the team on a regular basis, whether it's bagels every Friday. We order good foods. I take them out pretty consistently. My dream is to eventually have a daycare where if parents need a place to leave their kids from 9 to 5, we have a company daycare, secluded space with professionals that are monitoring and watching the
Yeah,
kids.
I remember how much it was for Northeast Daycare, man. It's like, geez, when that was 2000, what was that, 2009?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, right
So I
now,
can only imagine what they've gone up in 17 years.
oh yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Daycare's expensive. I'm willing to invest in getting hired professionals. I'll pay them a salary, get a nice, 2,000,
Yeah.
3,000 square foot space built for kids. And I'll rent. And I will say, look, if you're an employee here, you have maternity leave. Not only that, when you want to bring your kid, when you want to get back to work and you need a place to put your kid and you don't want to lose your money, ARG has a daycare. Now, we don't yet, obviously. I'm not going to market that. We don't yet, but my vision is to do all that because I see it as the future. I see the future of
Sure.
employing
Sure.
people needing to offer something outside of the basic material payout, because people are just not units of output anymore. And the spotlight of social media allowing people to see what life can really offer, the beauty of the world and traveling, the riches and luxury of private jets and,
Yeah.
luxury cars and all that. This is kind of making people not only want it, but also lacking gratitude for certain standards. So I think it's gonna fall on entrepreneurs and business owners to really be less selfish, less greedy, and to share in the profits in somehow providing excessive benefits to the team. Also, my management team, I give them a little cut of the company's profits. My top employees
Yeah.
make
I mean, it's
cut.
smart. It's just good business because what you guys do is not easy. We talked about that before we hit record, right? Where, you know, you guys are working with people. Unfortunately, a lot of times it's where there's times of need or there's a struggle, right? And something happens. It's not like people want to sign a contract and then not pay it. I'm
Yeah,
sure there's a few of those people, but that's just not the reality of it, right? So you're working with businesses in probably one of their lowest of lows, and that can probably wear on people. And that's not an easy job. But if you're fostering the environment, and like you said, it's the employee first culture, once you get a good person, it's like, what do you have to do to keep them? To keep them
yeah,
engaged, like focus on their mental health, everything. And I like
yeah,
that servant leadership approach, man, because it's honestly what more people need, where it's just like enough. How much money do you really need to make? Like, do we
yeah,
like what is this breed all about? Yeah, I mean, you want nice things, right? You want to provide for your wife and your kids, but it's like at what expense, right? Like if you have really good people that are going to bat for you or war for you every day to make the company profitable, then share it. It's
100%. I mean, look, if
fantastic.
it,
And I think, but
sorry, you go.
no, I was just thinking like our generation. I mean, you're younger than I am, but like I'm a millennial by like a year. I kind of question that when I see the rest of the millennials and they're like maybe, um, but I sit there and it's like, no, I'm not driven by that. Yes, I like to have nice things. It's because I will work harder than anyone else, and that justifies why I make what I make. But I'm not going to do it on behalf of like somebody else not making what they need to make either. So
Yeah,
that was where
exactly.
I was going.
Exactly. I don't believe in paying a low salary for any job. I make sure that my collectors have a decent salary, even though they're a commission incentivized company. I don't do this whole like you're commission only or you're making 30, 40,000 a year base salary. I just don't. It's you're making minimum, my collectors are making 50 grand, and that's on the lowest end, no experience, we'll train you, and it goes up from there. And they get a percentage of everything they collect. I want people to make good money with me. And I have people who have been with me since I started the company in 2018 and they haven't left. They just love it here. And it like I said, it boils down to just having this concept of honesty. I've always been consistent, but it's because I root my leadership style in the incentivization of the human brain, which is humans. Your soul, everything you think about who you are is in your mind. And collections is a tough business, right? People are coming to you that don't want to pay, maybe they can't pay. And it's a tough call to get on the phone, get them to pay as much as possible, to incentivize a caller to just bang out 100 calls a day. That's tough. That's tough. But when you tell them, hey, this is part of a bigger thing. This isn't only what's going to feed your family. You're also working on that skill
Yeah.
of you're present, you're here, do it well, right? Because then when you go home and you're with your family and you want to be attentive as a parent or as a partner or as a friend to someone else, or you even want to one day do this yourself. Maybe you do want to lead this company and you have my blessing. You want to go start your own business. These qualities of being here mentally, not spacing out, not fantasizing about your next coffee break and scrolling through the phone mindlessly. Being here and focusing on your task is the best skill you can train right now. to then be a better person in everything else you're doing in life. And when you tell people these things, which
Uh,
is the truth, right? It's actually I will debate that discussion with someone. And the only counter or rebuttal anyone has ever given me is, yeah, but it's so boring. And I go, well, but so are a lot of things in life. You know how fucking mindless it is to watch your kid try to put together a piece of blocks that you see can be done so easily, but their brain is literally lacking development. You know how hard you
yeah.
have to just sit there for like 15 minutes looking at this book that you've read 10 times in the past 60 seconds, and this kid wants to hear it again. You know you're training your brain to be able to tolerate these moments and to connect in a much more deep way with every single person that matters in your life because you're just doing your job well here. You're training your mindfulness. You're training your ability to
Well,
be.
and I think what some people don't realize is like even if they can collect a portion of what's outstanding, like a lot of equipment that's financed is business essential. So as long as it's that mindset where it's like if you get them to commit or pledge anything towards their outstanding balance, they can keep the lights on by still having the equipment before someone else has to go in and take it and then they don't have access to make it. And that's like a mindset shift where it's just like you're actually helping their business by getting them to help themselves. But
Exactly. I appreciate you for bringing me back, by the way, because I can derail and go off on like the whole personal
hey,
philosophical debate. And you're like, hey, wait,
hey,
but
hey,
also,
it's
let's
a
not forget this is
okay. I can't get names right, but I have done a few of these, so
yeah,
I
yeah.
got that going for
You're absolutely right. Ultimately, when you position it in that way, that look, we're here to help them, right? There's more trouble down the line. You repossess the equipment. Some of my clients also sue the debtors, right? There's a personal guarantee in some of these contracts. It's only going to get worse. All right. Give us a little something. Open the door this much, and then the rest will calm down, and then we can work through it. Right. Maybe you start small for the first 2 weeks. We'll discuss and renegotiate after that to increase. Because you'll be able to kind of keep this equipment to produce whatever you need to. That keeps the lights on. Maybe you get your feedback. Your feedback under you. We'll revisit in 2, 4 weeks maybe, and then we'll incrementally increase the payment plan until paid in
it.
full. And you know what? Hey, I'll take some fees off just as a good faith if we can get something going today. And you just, you work with that philosophy of yes, help me, help you. I'm not here to break knees. I'm not chasing anyone's medical bills, which I do feel great about. I couldn't get around to that. Um, so that's why I stuck with commercial debt because at least I know, look, this is more of a revenue generating assistance, right? It's
Yeah,
me.
you have a soul.
Yeah, precisely, precisely. I mean, others might not agree when they hear collections, but yes, it is there's a nuance to it. I'm not here to get grandma to, have to sell her dog to pay back for the liver transplant she needed or kidney transplant. So things like that.
You and I can go on forever with some of these things. It'd be great.
Yeah.
But for the sake of time here, I wanted to talk to you about. So I last saw you and I met your family at the NIFA conference in was it Orange County a few
Yeah,
months back, and just kind of
Huntington
wanted to
Beach.
get your thoughts. Kind of again, we get your thoughts real quick. On the equipment finance industry, Manny, and why this is an industry that you want to be a part of.
Well, I like the humanity behind the business. I think that it's an industry that's growing immensely. It's helping the small business economy, which constitutes, I think, 40 to 50% of the US's GDP. So it's a very vital piece of the economic puzzle that makes this country great. I love America. My family came here. So I believe very much in this industry providing access to capital quickly, more easily than the banking industry has been doing. And you guys are, from what I'm seeing, I also have been following the industry for a while. You got the North Mills, you got a lot of these companies that have won awards for good culture. They treat their people well. Who doesn't want to be a part of that? As an entrepreneur who's in the servicing of that, I want to work with good companies. I want to work with reputable companies. And I also want to work with people that I enjoy spending time with that know how to be human behind the money-making machine that we're all here supporting. And it's a good crew. It's a good group of people. I've met some very eccentric groups, some eccentric people, and it's nice. Obviously there's the very basic banal part of finance, but then you have the alternative space where there's people finding all these interesting new ways in the nuance of credit and debt to fill the void, which is ultimately just getting capital in the hands of the right people.
Spot on. I think you're I like the words you use, eclectic, eccentric. I think you fit right in well with a band of misfit toys that is equipment finance.
I
I
hope
mean,
to.
it's probably been in here for 2 decades, right? It's
Yeah,
always, it's always good people.
it really is, and the events you guys are getting interesting with the events. I like the outings. Definitely very
Yeah.
alcohol heavy. I gotta like I've been sober this year. I take some on and off time. That's been the hardest part. Is sometimes if I'm sober going into a conference, it hurts because I'm so down to join. It's a fun group. It's a fun group at the cocktail hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you participate too much, but other times you sit there and it's like, look, I'm having people are like, you have
We've all
water? I'm
been
like,
there.
leave
We've
me
all been
alone.
there.
Go, go away. Manny, I ask everyone who comes on this program to give me a fun fact about themselves. So, what do you enjoy doing outside of work?
What do I enjoy doing outside of work? Currently, two things. I'm trying to master the handstand. I want to be able to stand on my hands and fully balance without
Okay.
moving. And I also am trying to read as much as I can because I want to compile a book one day of all my wisdom, like my best advice to my kids.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
so that's more
Nice.
of the
Well, let me know
impulsive.
when the handstand thing happens. Maybe that'll be your party trick at the NIFA conference in Atlanta in September,
Honestly,
and
you're
let
gonna
me
see
know
it.
when you
You're
do
gonna
it
see
so I
it
can.
one day.
So once you get it, I'm gonna go and be that guy that just kind of kicks you, and then just be like, oh, I didn't see it. So just some fair warning.
I'm down. I accept that
just
challenge.
just because even if you put me up against the wall, this doesn't say handstand. So I don't know about that, man. That's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, this was it was nice. So yeah, hopefully I'll be the you'll I don't know, we'll see if I even put something interesting together, but I was raised thinking very differently than I do now, and I feel like I could have used that better guidance, so I want to give that to my kids. So I'm gonna hopefully write a book
Yeah,
one day. Kids, maybe I'll publish it, who knows?
you write it. You got to publish it. Good, good, good. And then I guess my last question I have for you is why should someone want to do business with Manny in Advanced Recovery Group?
I like that. Good marketing little excerpt there. But I will say that aside from the fact that I think I'm building something very unique and running a great operation, and my team has been with me. I have, 20% of my company has been with me since the founding of the business, at least. I would say even closer to 30 when I think about the numbers. We've been growing exponentially, 400% over the past 5 years. And that's for a reason. We provide a good service. I'm also I'm early enough that I'm willing to tailor processes and I love feedback. So I'm willing to tailor processes to the right kind of clients. You can get a type of service and quality execution here that you can't get anywhere else. For some of my clients, I'm collecting, 40% uh, dollar for dollar liquidation rates. So some, not all. Average in the working capital space is like 15%, but we are well over 25, the majority of our clients. So I'm doing something right. The numbers speak for themselves. And if you want to try and test me out, you have nothing to lose.
Thank you for sharing that, Manny, and congratulations on your success to date. And looking forward to watching you and the firm grow, man. So keep up the hard work. I know you're going to, and
Yeah.
look forward to seeing you hopefully at the EF Cares golf event that we have.
I'll try my best to be there. Most likely I will. I'm growing fond of what you guys are doing, and I look forward to also connecting with you more and seeing you at every conference going forward.
Okay, awesome, sir. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the time, Jess.
Thank you.